Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the special meeting of the Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council. Today is December 31st, 2018. I call the meeting to order at 8:04 a.m. This is a bit of a government housekeeping meeting, so it shouldn't be long. Madam Clerk, can I have the roll call?
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Councilperson Zaversa. Here. E. Park. Here. No, I'm sorry. O. Here. O'Shea. Here. M. Park.
Here.
Wu.
Here.
Borough Attorney.
Present.
Borough Administrator.
Here.
And Borough Clerk. Everyone's present, Mayor.
Please rise to the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please read into the record the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to open up to the public?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
If there's anyone from the public who wishes to be heard, please just come up to the microphone on the table after you're recognized by me and state your name and address. Yes.
Good morning, Dave DiGregorio, 165 Charlotte Place, Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey. I'd like some more details as to the purpose of this meeting, and I'd like some details as to the properties being purchased and the money being spent by our taxpayer money being spent regarding this affordable housing.
The agenda speaks for itself as to the purpose of the meeting, and as to the purchases of the property, those have been publicly discussed in past meetings. Today, it's on the closed session, which we will go into shortly.
Do we have a plan, a detailed plan, a blueprint of the building that is proposed by the town?
Yeah, so the property's already been purchased. There is a plan. It's publicly filed. You could open that if you wish, or just go down to the, I guess, the Superior Court.
It would be very responsible for this governing body to make that public and actually to do a press release.
It should actually be on the website as well. Go ahead.
Oh, I didn't see it, and it should be public.
You're right, it should be public. It should, and I believe it is.
What is happening to the Lions Club property? Is that part of this or not?
Can I answer that? It is. I mean, it's part of the plan.
Are there going to be any alterations of the streets in that area?
That's in the plan also.
And how many stories is the building going to be?
That's in the plan also.
Number 5, I'd like to know what the Tracy vs. Farwell Englewood Cliffs is. Is this having to do with any actions, discipline actions, or?
It says Oprah on it. It's an Oprah case to release the tapes, the Chiaffi tapes.
Okay.
James Tracy filed to get the tapes.
Okay. I would like to make some comments as to the history of the police department, and I will actually just make the comments as to what my understanding of the root of the problem is. As I understand, many years ago, there was 2 people that were up for becoming chief of police.
What year was that?
I don't know the year in particular. One was passed over.
Who was that?
I would rather speak in general terms.
Of course.
And since then, it seems like there has been a very,
Since when?
I'm speaking in general terms, I'm just saying many years ago.
From the beginning of,
Years.
from the beginning of history? Okay.
I am not going to mention names, and I am not going to mention dates.
Okay, I'd just like to have substance behind what speakers are saying, so if you want to speak in generalities, then we'll listen to you in a general way as well.
I'm speaking as I understand. So basically,
What is your understanding based on?
is this a cross-examination of me, or am I allowed to speak?
Well, you're stating facts.
Cross-examining me, so I think what you're trying to do is you're trying to divert, as you usually do. So I'm telling you as I understand it. So I don't expect any questions from you during my time.
So your understanding, what is your understanding based on?
If you would stop questioning me, I will continue and not waste any of your time, extra time.
Go ahead.
You're wasting time. You're wasting my time. Do not question.
We have the rest of the year.
This is my time. Okay?
Okay. Go ahead.
My understanding is that one person was passed over. Since then, that person happened to have a spouse on the council.
Who was that?
I would appreciate it if you wouldn't interrupt me.
I just want to be able to follow what you're saying, so that when you conclude, I could understand what your conclusion is.
Then, what I see as very, very adverse working conditions were created for the chief of police that was chosen at the time, and the rest of the staff. And
Which chief are you referring to now?
I'm going to ignore you, because right now you're...
Okay. Are you referring to the chief who surreptitiously made 120 recordings?
I am talking in general terms. If you want to keep on interrupting me, that's your prerogative.
Mayor,
It's
point
going to
of
take me a lot
order.
longer to get through.
Go ahead.
Point of order.
Go ahead.
Can we-
You're not
Can we just let
recognized.
the resident finish?
He could finish, but he's speaking in such generalities that we must be able to follow him for a lucid conversation.
Well, I think it's very obvious the reason why you are interrupting me. Because what I'm speaking about is the truth. And what I'm speaking about has been the root cause.
The truth as you've been told, which is not the truth. But go ahead.
The root cause of all of the problems, as I see it, has been the adverse working conditions. And the mayor has been on tape and complaining in public about the salaries of our police officers. In fact, just a few days ago, there was a complaint about, or a comment in the Bergen Record, or the North Jersey publication, as to how much the acting chief was making, and a comment with what the mayor thought of it. I do believe that public employees should be treated absolutely fairly, that their salaries should not be commented on by an elected official.
That's our job, sir.
It's highly inappropriate.
That's our job.
You're interrupting me. Unfortunately, I cannot eject you for interrupting me. Okay? Highly inappropriate. And I've reminded this mayor a number of times that any salary should be negotiated. If you have a problem with how much people are making, that is done professionally at the negotiating table. That's just been one small piece of evidence of the harassment that this department has gone under. And it has been basically, I feel that most of the department, if not all, they have been working under terrible, adverse conditions. And I think that was caused by an elected mayor who basically has been out of control these last few years. I would like to see this litigation on another topic.
Which litigation?
I would like to see the litigation that has been mentioned here. First of all, I'd like to see all of the police litigation be resolved very, very quickly, and I'd like to see that,
I'm sure they will be.
I'd like to see that, that this all be left in the rearview mirror, and that people that have worked for many, many years get what they deserve. And I'd like to see that this, I'd like to make it very, very clear that these working conditions in this police department have been just terrible these last few years. And that has been, the cause of that has been primarily Mayor Mario Kranjak and his vendetta, personal vendetta, with a former councilwoman against the police department. And I do believe that they should be making what they deserve and what they've negotiated, and that any further comments be held to themselves and you negotiate at the negotiating table.
So you want to hide information from the public?
You form a committee and you negotiate at the negotiating table.
Everything will be open. Nothing's private, nothing's confidential. Salaries are opened. Gloria and Ed gave the police department a very high salary, as the chief as well, and those salaries are just not sustainable. And Mr. DiGregorio, you're speaking as a public...
Lawsuits are not sustainable, Mayor.
Well, frivolous lawsuits are not,
Your
yes.
lawsuits are not sustainable.
I don't have any lawsuits. I haven't brought any lawsuits. So here's the thing. You need to make sure
All
that...
employees need to be treated fairly and treated with respect.
You're absolutely right.
With dignity.
You're right, and so should the taxpayers.
And
The taxpayers should be respected as well.
There should be no circumstance where an employee feels compelled to protect themselves one way or another. It has been a horrible working condition.
What's so horrible about it?
Any person
Specifically, though,
conditions,
what's so horrible about it, specifically? Stop howling to the moon. Just tell me what is specifically so horrible about working in the Englewood Cliffs Police Department.
I would like to see in this town some out-of-the-box thinking. I would like to see some innovation. I would like to see our town setting the example for other towns, not through infighting and petty arguments that turn into expensive lawsuits.
Thank you.
I would like to see this town lead. I'd like to see this town innovate, and I think we have a good chance of that in the future. I do think that there are certain quality of life issues that I'd like to bring up before I conclude. One of the big problems in this town, again, it was caused by, as I understand it, a former council person, where another person was harassed. This happened to be a reporter of the Northern Valley Press, I believe. It's the, not the suburbanite paper, the other paper. That reporter was threatened, as I understand, and fired from the paper. Ever since then, that paper has hardly ever reported anything on Englewood Cliffs. The paper is a small paper. I think local press is very important. I know there's a reporter here today, and I'm very happy because we need to have that fourth estate report. That said, those papers are thrown on driveways, and a lot of them are thrown on driveways without people living in the houses. I'd like to see a solution to that. Those papers are going down the drain, literally, down the sewer, literally, and it is a problem. And I think we need to address that. That's a small quality of life problem, but it makes the town look messy. And there is a solution that we can have. So that's one quality of life issue that I'd like to address, and I think that we can do a lot more out-of-the-box things in the future. State-of-the-art recycle center, and other things as far as that goes. So, with that, I will conclude my comments. Thank you for your time, and again, I will remind the governing body that they could make this the best place for any municipal or state or worker to work. It should be a desired place to work, and harassment in this body should be a thing of the past. Thank you very much, and I wish everyone a very happy New Year, and I'll see you on the 3rd, hopefully.
Thank you for your generalities. Just to clarify, when you're ready to be courageous and be specific, come back and be specific. I want to be fair to taxpayers also, and, you know, our employees are well taken care of. We respect them, we thank them, we express gratitude. Oftentimes, they don't express it back. Instead, we get lawsuits. The economics of municipal government are such that taxpayers have been taken advantage of for many years. Gloria and Ed approved contracts that are just not sustainable for our police department and our police chief in the past. We're trying to rectify that situation, but be fair to everybody. Now, the gentleman who spoke, I believe, is also a member of the Public Workers Union, so I forgive him for the slant of his discussion and the targeting of the mayor. However, again, we need to be fair to taxpayers, and that's what everyone seems to always run on in this town, but no one ever actually does until I became mayor, William Wu became councilperson, Mark Park, Mary O'Shea, Carol McMorrow. We're all for transparency. If you listen to what the gentleman that just spoke said, he wants all negotiations and material terms of agreements not discussed in public.
I didn't say that.
That's abhorrent to me.
Put words in my mouth.
That's abhorrent. We're here to be transparent, and I understand that on the one hand you want things your way, but on the other hand you don't want the taxpayers to know what it is.
No, I just...
The taxpayers have an absolute right, wouldn't everybody on this dais agree, to have all the information available to them so they could determine who should be sitting up here. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Lauren Eastwood, Four-Wheeler Drive. I do not believe that Chief Happy's working conditions have been adverse. In fact, I believe they have been unreasonably favorable. I do not believe any other town in the state of New Jersey would have ignored all of the allegations in the lawsuits filed under the previous administration. Allegations of assault on the police chief, allegations of sending a person with improper equipment into a burning building, allegations of covering up sexual abuse of a minor. I believe they all would have been investigated. I think those are very favorable working conditions for a police officer or police chief, unreasonably favorable ones. I believe we should have a good working environment for our employees, but that includes not being expected to do favors for certain officials. I do not believe that under the previous administration things were rosy. They were really rosy if you were one of the insiders, but as someone who was victimized by one of the insiders, who had a lot of property damage because the building codes weren't followed and the zoning codes weren't followed, I don't think it was so wonderful at all. And I expect, unfortunately, that with 5 Democrats on the council, we'll go back to the old ways. You know, favoring for their friends and screwing everyone else.
So, in comment to that, and I think what Mr. DiGregorio, who spoke earlier, misses, and a lot of people miss also, is that the problem is not me as mayor. The problem is the fact that the police department has become an extension of a political party. Mr. Moans is sitting in the back row. She actually approved a contract for her brother when she was on council and the head of the Democratic Party in town to be the chief, okay? So she approved that. So the problem with the town is, and I didn't intend to go in this direction today, but we're here because Mr. DiGregorio brought us here, and I thank you for that, because it needs to be brought out and repeated over and over. The problem is that the police department, up until October at least, or November, beginning of November, was an extension of the Democratic Party, and we're going to deal with that in 2019. And, you know, it's going to be unpleasant for some people, but we're dealing with it. Yes.
Deborah Sabarin, Wessex, Hollywood, Councilwoman-elect. who, I'm trying to understand why it's December 31st, and I'm sitting here, and we have all this pending litigation that we're going to closed session to discuss, that will be voted on, while myself and Jimmy Saul are sitting up there, and why we're still sitting on this side, and this discussion is even happening. Like, how could this possibly be housekeeping? Are you making final decisions today regarding all of this pending litigation?
We're following the rules. All the rules.
Are you making final decisions regarding this litigation today in closed session? Do you think that it's fair or
No.
correct?
No, we're not actually.
As a councilwoman,
Relax. We're following the rules, number one. Number two, the Robert's Rules of Order, okay? We're bringing up to date in closed session, as we're entitled to, because you're not on this council yet. We will be bringing everyone up to date as a status update on certain of these litigations and developments. And when you're up here, you'll be told that as well.
and Mary O'Shea.
They're members of the council.
I understand, but why do they need to be brought up to date if
Business
we're not voting on it?
business doesn't stop because a new council member is coming in.
I understand, this
So
is a
that's what
special
we're
meeting.
doing.
This is not a
Yes,
housekeeping...
this is a special.
Right, it's a
Well, the
special-
housekeeping aspects of it are approval of minutes, okay?
I understand
I mean,
that's what it is.
I understand your angst at not being up here, but really, I still have to follow the rules, okay?
I'm not upset that I'm not there. The people voted for me, I will be up
It's
there
really,
24 hours.
that's fine, but
I'm just
do
asking...
you want us to just stop and wait for you? Like, should I have done that a year ago?
Mayor,
I mean,
you don't have to stop and wait for me. I will be up there. I will be up there, and my voice will be heard.
I want your voice to be heard.
But I really don't think you do.
Of course I do, because then you're going to see what it's like being up here.
Oh, I welcome it. I welcome it.
I hope you enjoy it as much as I have.
I just think it's strange.
It's an eye-opener.
Litigation.
Why? I mean, litigation goes on.
I hope so. I'll be on that side, and I'll be able to understand why you feel it so necessary.
I have a duty,
Obnoxious.
I have a duty to run government.
Outside that day.
That's not true. That's not true. I have a duty
You know
to,
what? It speaks for itself.
I have a duty to run this town. I don't have a duty to wait for you to get up here to run the town,
You
okay?
don't have a duty to run this town. This council has a duty to run this town.
Well, there's, no, I think you need to understand there's an allocation of power. There's an allocation of power, and somebody has to be the leader here, and it's me.
have the power anymore, so there we go.
Leadership council.
Yes.
L'Oreal just told me she's running for mayor again.
Well, I didn't say
Yes.
that. Well, you're just
You know what,
helping
the
the
video
people.
speaks for itself, Mario.
Just
It
rewind
does.
and watch.
Hold that thought, Ellen, because October 10th is very relevant to the video.
Yes,
Yeah.
we see that.
And for that matter, I think you do have a lawsuit against Chaffee that you filed personally in November. So for transparency reasons, let's call it what it is, okay?
Hey.
Oh, so you're not being honest.
That's right. I have no lawsuit. Sure you do. You just
No,
filed one last month.
Chief Choppy filed a lawsuit against me many times.
No, this is for your own law.
We got, Ms. Geiger's got the floor. Yes, Ms. Geiger.
All of a sudden, I have the floor.
It's all yours.
Okay. Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred. Openness, transparency. I put in several Oprah requests during the last week, and redactions were made to those requests, which are not compliant with the State Open Public Records Act. And I understand that those redactions were reviewed by the borough attorney. So I want to know under what basis you are reviewing simple Oprah requests and having redactions made that cause the responses to be virtually meaningless.
Can you be specific?
Which
Yes.
Oprah?
Which Oprah? Every single one that I
That's
submit.
not accurate.
How many have you submitted?
I don't count, Mrs.
Okay.
Mayor, and let's not divert once again.
Can you be specific?
Can I
Yes,
just,
the Oprah where I asked for the RFQs, you said that they were unavailable. That is not true. There is no proprietary or competitive advantage that is given to any bidder that because the bidding was closed, the period in which they could submit bids was closed, and the amount of what someone bid for an RFQ is public information. It is a public bidding process. And further, when you do a redaction or refuse to give something in its totality, you have to itemize item by item according to the Public Open Records Act, why each item that you are redacting is being redacted.
If you permit the Borough Council to answer
I
you.
want to finish what I say, and
You-
then she can
okay.
answer me. And the blanket decision not to give any information is against the law. Please explain.
Okay, so the Oprah was for the RFQs from the December 5th RFQ, and there were no redactions done. There was a
there's no
refusal.
redactions.
Okay, because you
Denied.
started with redactions.
Well, there's another one
And,
that has
excuse me, I don't have any immediate memory of redactions for the multiple, Oprahs that you put in and everyone else in this town puts in. I haven't done redactions in quite a while, so maybe you could enlighten me. But with respect to the RFQs, the reason for the denial is that there is a second pending RFQ and appointments need to be made. That's why, under the public contracts law, there was an open, bidding process. I'm sorry, there was a bidding process on December 5th. There was a second bidding process on December 19th. No appointments have been made yet. If you want each and every individual RFQ, we will look at each and every individual RFQ and see if there are redactions. You are correct. We should give you the RFQs with the proposals for the hourly rates redacted. That's what we should do.
And when am I going to get them? After you've made the appointments?
No.
I can't evaluate them?
No,
Today?
because,
Okay? Before
when,
you do meet?
well, excuse me, I don't know how many were received, so,
Aren't the
and you
RFQs
know,
on a CD?
so, yeah, but we can't redact on a CD, right?
There's nothing that has to be redacted.
Yes.
It's closed bidding.
The proposal
Bidding is
price,
closed.
yes, I understand.
Closed. It's public. Unless they have specifically said in their RFQ that it's proprietary information or that disclosure of the information would prejudice them, and I'm quoting from various lawsuits, that information is public. And I want a copy of those RFQs.
All right, Miss Geiger, I will take your, position under advisement, and I will work with the Borough Clerk and the Borough Administrator to give you the December 5th RFQs. Redacted or not, I'll make a decision
When?
individually.
When?
When did you receive a response? Yesterday, today?
No, last week.
Last week.
Well, look, it's December
So,
31st.
it's December
All
31.
right, we're making it all moot because the decisions are all going to be made on January 3rd,
That's right.
so let's not go further. You're talking about transparency. I'm just making the point that you have done everything in your power to not have transparency with what's going on, and this is just another example. The other item is when I asked for information regarding emails between the mayor and the new police chief regarding overtime, and countless redactions. No reason for it, just there. I'm just moving on. Another item, the council has twice...
All right, so I didn't do any redactions on that, Oprah, because I don't think it came across my desk. Thank you.
Good, so that's not your fault.
Well, I don't know.
Somebody should be reviewing...
I don't know that there's any
whoever-
fault. I don't know if there's any fault to point the finger at. You're making a statement, and I'm just,
making
for
a
the borough
statement that there
clerk...
were impermissible redactions
Okay.
on that, and
The
I'm-
borough clerk does the redaction. The borough clerk...
The borough clerk,
Okay,
because I asked her.
Okay. So I'm glad you know more than me from the borough clerk, but at this moment in time, it's the borough clerk's job to make redactions. If the borough attorney tells her, then it's the borough attorney, direction. If the borough administrator had redactions, I am assuming that the borough clerk did her job and asserted, assured that the redactions were appropriate. So I don't know what's in those emails, but if you need it to be reviewed all over
No,
again...
I don't need to spend any more of the borough's funds going through countless ridiculous...
Well, we do that all the time for you, but hold on a second.
Request the Oprah.
Hold on, the clerk could answer your question. The clerk, if you want an answer, our municipal clerk could answer your question. Please.
The borough clerk did answer my question.
No,
She
I asked-
thanked them.
I guess privately she answered your question.
No, publicly, I went to Borough Hall and...
No, I want it to be done,
Okay,
I want-
let everyone know what her...
I want it to be done publicly, please.
Please.
Mrs. Geiger came to Borough Hall to question some of the Oprahs, and I had her meet with the Borough Administrator, James Barbario. But she did ask me why I made the redactions, and I answered her honestly that the redactions were made by the officer in charge, Officer Hill. So when he gave me the Oprahs, they were already redacted. In other words, I didn't even see them.
Okay, so it could be a public safety issue, but you don't know?
No.
Okay.
Whatever. I gave her...
Are you questioning them any further, or are you withdrawing your objection?
I'm just making a statement
Okay.
that there is a consistent policy on the part of this administration not to give out information that should be given to the public.
That is inaccurate. There is no consistent policy when it comes to Oprah.
there's-
Every single
That's
Oprah...
why you've been already found twice to be in violation of
okay.
Oprah by the Superior Court.
There was one...
Actually, 3 times. The 3rd time is on this list in the Tracy litigation, where you have been fined because of it. So let's move on.
Yes.
Well, let me just say this.
Let's move on because
Let me
it's
say
my
this.
floor.
Well, I'll give you more time, but, in terms of the policy, we have a policy of transparency. We give everybody everything they're entitled to. It's just that you're always asking for way, way, way too much, okay? You are not part of the government. You think you are, but you're not.
I'm not part of the government, and I don't choose to be at this point in time. Next, Mr. Mura, or Captain Mura. Twice the borough has refused to modify the settlement agreement. I want to know, has the State Pension Board been advised that the borough has not modified that agreement?
Jay Medina?
Not that I know of, no.
When is...
Well,
It happened twice, 2 weeks ago,
You dealt
and
with it
2 weeks,
anyway.
and a month before that.
No, there wasn't a vote the month before
No.
that.
Yes, there was. Yes, there was.
There were, because you...
Because it didn't pass.
It didn't pass.
Is somebody notifying the pension board that Mr. Mura, that the council has not approved the amendment to the settlement agreement, that you...
No.
No, when are you doing this? It's
The
costing you
Democratic
money.
Council next year gets to deal with it.
Excuse me.
If you want to enforce the settlement, it's not the pension board. You have to go to the Superior Court of New Jersey and the Honorable Christine Farrington, who handled the matter last February, and put us into the position that we are in. Excuse me, you're interrupting me. With respect to the settlement agreement, there is a term in the settlement that says if he can apply for the involuntary disability application, he needs to file a regular retirement
Within
application.
15 days of denial.
Yes, I understand. They are not going to deny it.
Because they don't know that you have not disapproved the settlement agreement addendum, which you told them that you were going to get passed.
We'll just
so
solve the problem.
No one told the pension board
Really?
anything.
That's not what the Oprah communications show between the pension board and Bruderman's attorney, Eileen Horn, or Ellen Horn, whatever her name
Okay,
is.
so whatever you're reading or whatever you're concluding, it is unfortunate that the addendum was not agreed to so that the disability application that he qualifies for could be processed, and now the litigation will continue because the addendum was in fact not approved. Excuse me, you're interrupting me. So from here, it's not a false narrative. From here, I or the new borough attorney, come January, will have to advise the mayor and council on what their choices are in closed session, and a decision will have to be made, and it will involve litigation.
Oh, my goodness, that you really shied away from that.
No, we haven't shied away from it. We've been sued, this borough has been sued, and this council has been sued.
I'm sorry.
And the great bulk of the litigations have been dismissed as without merit. So, there you go.
Well, here we go. Let's go on.
Name one lawsuit that's been won.
Oh, let's see. Tracy versus the Borough of Englewood Cliffs.
Yes.
It's 59.
That's subject to appeal.
Englewood Cliffs, PBA local versus the Borough of Englewood Cliffs.
Also subject to
0087.
appeal.
Well,
Can
everything
you
is
not
subject to
interrupt a
appeal.
resident, please?
Stop
I'm
it,
just
Gloria.
explaining to
You said
her.
name two? There are two.
No, let me just say this about the,
Excuse me.
are you
I want to
finished?
Continue. No, I'm not finished.
What else do you have?
I have a lot to say.
You seem very upset this morning. What else do you have to say?
I'm upset this morning. I'm upset that we have a meeting at 8 a.m. for no reason. But let's go on with that. Muir versus the pension board. Twice, I'm going on, twice.
What
the mayor
lawsuit
and
is that?
council.
I'm not aware of Mura versus the pension board.
I'm saying right now, the issue that I just brought up about Mura and the state pension board.
Oh, I thought she said
There is
Mura.
documentation going back to April of 2000, April of this year, stating that that if an amendment is approved by the council, the pension board will move forward on the application. And without that amendment, they would not. So I want to know, given that a clock is ticking, why you, as the mayor and council, have not proceeded to notify the pension board that that amendment has not been approved so that they can take whatever action they deem to be appropriate, period. Right now, we are continuing to have someone on the payroll week after week until this mayor and council acts. And by the way, Judge Barrington's opinion dealt with the decision of the borough to take him off the payroll on October 1st. It did not deal with whether or not he was entitled to a disability retirement and what those requirements are.
Yes, but she didn't follow the settlement agreement with respect to the limitations on the captain's salary.
That's your
No,
opinion.
that's just the truth.
That's your opinion.
She did not follow the settlement agreement with
I
respect
think
to the captain's
there's
salary.
one more fact point that everybody should be aware of. There's a fact point, which is that we were hoping to work it out with Captain Mura. Unfortunately, his attorney passed away in the interim, and please be respectful, Ms. Geiger. Somebody lost their life.
Unfortunate.
Somebody passed away, and it's not funny, okay? So what we want to do is try to speak to Captain Mura's new attorney. Mr. Zayas passed away, unfortunately, may he rest in peace, back in, I think, October or November, so.
Okay. Going to the cases that are on the agenda, the PBA versus the Borough, Tracy versus the Borough of Englewood Cliffs. I believe in that you were directed to prepare a Vaughan Index for submission to the court within 7 days. I'd like to know, has that Vaughan Index been prepared and submitted to the court? Because 7 days have passed.
Just, let me, I don't know the answer to that, but let me be clear about that Oprah lawsuit. That Oprah lawsuit is actually something I wanted to happen. I want all those tapes out. Now, unfortunately for Lieutenant Tracy, he thinks those tapes are going to be helpful to him in his litigations, and I think it's somewhat ironic that the references to him in those tapes are less than flattering, and certainly indicting of the chief and others who were pushing him to sue us. So I'm very happy that those tapes will come out, that you will all, and everybody at home, can listen to them. And now you'll actually know what actually happened in this town over the last 3 years.
I look forward to it, and I look forward to not having them interpreted correctly or incorrectly by selected members of the council, and I look forward to hearing them in full and in context.
You will get to hear all the...
Appropriate decisions.
You will get to hear... You will.
For myself, not colored by your slanted interpretation.
You will get to hear all
Everything else.
the racist speech. You will get to hear all the sexually harassing speech.
Talk anything
You will get to
about
hear about all the sexually deviant speech for yourself.
But right now, what I want to know is, was that Vaughan Index prepared?
It's...
Excuse me. We have no response to you at this time.
Oh, so for this lawsuit, that the mayor is happy that it's taking place so that we in the public, you are not going to comment on whether you have met the requirements of the court.
It's not for this mayor and council to do. That's one of the reasons we have a closed session today.
I would think that
Okay.
given that the hearing took place on the 21st,
Right,
you
I
would
should
have
have had the
informed the
council
mayor
come on
and
the
council.
24th.
You should have had the mayor and council
Okay,
advise
please move on.
Yes,
emails
you
and
should
with
be the
copies
borough
of the court
attorney.
orders.
You should be the borough attorney.
If I wanted to be a borough attorney, I would have gotten a law degree
Right.
many years ago.
Right.
Thank you, and it wouldn't have been this field. Next, your bills. Received a copy
Whose
of your
bills?
bills. Yours, Ms. Rizzuto.
Yes.
Your bills. $83,000 worth of bills. Can you tell me were these bills paid?
Yes, the mayor and council approved them at the last
Okay,
meeting.
then I'm going to ask questions about them. Who signed off on the invoices for those bills? Who on the council? Who reviewed them?
I reviewed them and I told them, but apparently they got through somehow.
You reviewed them after the mayor and council approved them? Yeah.
No, I reviewed them after...
The mayor-
I told to, or they emailed the council to come down and sign the purchase order.
Let's just get the timeline straight
You
here.
reviewed them after the mayor and council approved them.
Under what
Can I make a comment
authority,
on that?
under what authority did you have, Ed, to go try to pull something that was already approved by council?
Same as every other council.
That's, that's before the vote. That's before the vote. Your actions are ultra-virus.
They weren't supposed to be on the agenda, and James told me they were not on there.
Okay, so all you needed...
Somehow they magically...
I
got
called
on.
you, right? Well,
Yeah.
magic, I don't know what magic is about it, but I did
know that
call
they
you,
were on there.
I did call you, and you didn't call me
I
back.
did call you back.
I'm sorry, I didn't receive a call from you.
Yes, I sure did.
Okay, but regardless, all you gotta do is call me if you had a question.
What does that have to do with it?
Right.
I told it just because the...
You don't have authority to pull anything after it's been voted. You're acting in an ultra-virus action.
What's
I have a
ridiculous?
comment.
What's ridiculous?
What authority does everybody else here on this?
No, you don't. No, you don't. Absolutely not. No, you acted outside of your scope of authority.
So you say...
It was approved on December 12th.
Excuse me, I have a question or
Yes, Ms.
comment. At the last mayor council meeting, the claims were approved. The next day, we get an email from James Barbario, the administrator, for us to come in and sign the claims. So once again, things were done backwards. You're supposed to sign off on claims, then approve them, not the other way.
I only responded an email to the council because, the finance sent emails out prior,
Before.
and I was only
understand that,
responding to
but
that.
Council members have a habit of not signing.
Excuse me, I'm speaking now,
Okay,
Anne Marie.
well, I had
Please
nothing
do
to
not
do-
interrupt.
I had nothing to
Please
do
do
with it.
not interrupt.
Okay, I had nothing to do with
Please do
it.
not interrupt. I have the floor.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So,
You don't want somebody to get paid?
excuse me, Mayor,
Go ahead.
are you having a bad morning?
No, it sounds like everybody else is, though. I'm actually...
Well, it certainly sounds like you're having a bad
I'm
morning.
having a fine morning. I get to see Ms. Geiger, Mr. DiGregorio. That's great.
Okay, can I speak now?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
So, James, what is the protocol about signing off on claims and approving them?
But once they're signed off, they go down and
They
get
have to
paid.
be signed off first, right?
Right, and they go down and get
Okay,
paid.
so question for you. At the last mayor council meeting, were the claims signed before we approved them? None of them were signed because the next day
No,
we
they
got
weren't
email.
signed. That's right, they weren't signed by...
So how do we
by-
approve claims that were not signed?
Well, you-
It was your job to tell
Well,
us
excuse me.
that they were not signed.
No, and you got emails from the finance department to come down and sign
7
them.
emails.
But we
But
don't,
if you don't come down and sign them...
but
I
how
have
do we
nothing-
know if none of us went down to sign them if you don't bring that up at the mayor council meeting?
Well, because, first and foremost, you get an email, this is always the way it's been working since I've been here. You get an email from the finance department saying, come down and sign off on the, I guess, the vouchers, whatever it is over there. And that's how it's always been since I've been here. And most of the times, the council members come down and sign them.
Well, you know what,
And this
you
situ-
said the operative word. No, you said the operative, most of the times, but that one
No, that's how
time
it-
at the mayor council meeting,
Hold on, you're
nobody
asking for a
came,
question.
nobody came to sign, but yet you didn't bring that up.
Mr.
And
Diego-
we
But
approved the
first
claim.
and foremost,
Mr.
Councilman,
Barbario, go ahead and finish. And if she interrupts you again,
But,
just
yeah,
wait for her to
first and
finish and
foremost.
continue, okay?
I get the complaints from the finance department constantly that the council doesn't come down to sign any of the checks or any of the information that you're requesting. Constantly. you get the emails from the finance department, not from me. I only followed up, only because finance asked me to follow up. That's how that transaction took place.
Anne Marie did a resolution one time, because this happened once before, where Carol pulled Councilwoman DeMora pulled a check.
At the council meeting.
And my recollection is you redid a resolution, because no one had signed the, same thing happened.
No, well, okay. One time, Ellen questioned one of my bills. That bill was pulled in open public session. I reviewed it with her, and then it went on the next agenda. That happened. I don't know about something.
Again, the question is, how can we approve, in other
Okay,
words,
so-
nothing was signed, and yet we approved it
Exactly.
at the regular meeting.
Yes.
How is that possible? Especially when we were not informed of the fact that none of the
Okay,
invoices were signed.
so I guess you need to fix your procedures with your finance department and your borough administrator. Let me say this, I was not aware that no one signed. There were like $2 million of bills, and you're telling me you all approved them, no one questioned at the mayor and council. The finance department is continually complaining that no one comes.
All of us, no one signed it, and yet it was still
No, there was
on the
time,
agenda.
Mark Park came down.
No one signed it, but yet the administrator didn't bring that up at the meeting.
Okay, so what
Just
would
let
you
it-
like to
hold on.
do?
That should have been.
Would you like to revoke the $2 million that was approved? I mean-
Could I just say one thing?
You can't do that. Hold on a second, everybody.
Please let me make one thing clear, Mayor, if you don't mind.
Okay.
From what I understand, the finance department sends a bill list to the council members.
No?
No, well, I thought they did.
All right, here's the problem, guys.
Well,
People on council didn't do their jobs, and they're criticizing, except for a couple of people, Mark, and they're criticizing Anne Marie for doing her job as council, Jamie for doing his job as borough administrator, and the finance department. Everybody did their jobs except you guys didn't show up.
What about Bill Wu? He didn't show up either. Or Mary O'Shea, she didn't show up either.
Well,
Yeah.
well, she did,
That's the way it is.
Well, listen, council, if you're up here, you need to do your job.
It's that way too.
We're talking about procedure, following procedures. You can't put something on for approval that has not been signed off.
Ed, just for the record, I've signed off on, I would say, 10 of the 12 months this year. I went in for signing. Okay, this is this is the only time I was not able to go in. Usually, the process was that before the council meeting, she usually brings the stash if there's ones that are unsigned, right? In this case, I don't know why there was not.
no, Bill, for November, I did bring the bills because I went to sign them and only one signature was on the claim, so I brought them over to the meetings. I would have assumed that the administrator would have told us if none of them or only one signature was on the claim. But you sat there at the last meeting, didn't bring it up, and...
Well, the councilwoman,
we
I would
assumed that they were signed.
assume that the council would come down and sign them.
Councilwoman, no, you can't.
And
assume,
no, and all I'm trying to say, because I know you're being accusatory,
Are you-
and I don't appreciate that.
Hold on a second.
Exactly, Jamie, you are the
Councilwoman, no, you brought them
administrator.
over, you didn't do your job. Do you have anything else to say? Because we need to get to...
What do you mean I didn't do my
All right, go ahead,
job?
finish.
Of course I do.
I'm not the messenger.
Finish, you have 2 more minutes, and we gotta get
You
going.
gave me more time.
No,
You were in-
yeah, you already had 20, so you got 2 more.
Terrific. Here we go. Okay, so you're saying that $2.9 million worth of claims of this borough was not approved, was not reviewed and signed off on by any council person, and you, as the borough administrator, allowed those bills to be presented to the council and approved and adopted without notifying them that no one signed off on those bills, that is an elected official who has the fiduciary responsibility to do that.
And they know that every month.
Excuse me, I'm
Every
not,
month they know that.
excuse me,
All right, I'm gonna ask you to finish, because you're being inaccurate.
I'm not being inaccurate.
You are.
I am
You're being unfair to our employees.
I am not, I am summarizing this comment. James Barbario sat here, had bills presented to the council, and did not notify them that none of those bills had been approved by the council members. by 2 council members as required by our procedure.
Okay, is there
I
anyone...
want to clarify that.
That's not accurate. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to be
I
heard?
have more questions.
All right.
You're interrupting me.
No, well, you've had enough time.
Oh, no, I haven't. The suit that was in court, there was a stenographer there at the suit on the CBA suit. Who paid for that stenographer?
I don't know, it's closed session. Next. No,
No,
stop.
No.
This is...
The lawyer from Mark Rutterman's office that represents the borough has a hearing disability. She cannot hear. That stenographer is not for purposes of creating a certified court hand reporter. Their office provides it because it's an accommodation for a disabled person. She types, and the lawyer can look on the screen and see what everyone is saying. So, you sort of are assuming something that isn't
Well,
occurring.
thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Okay, one final, no second. The COA process and our litigation with COA.
The one that you're a plaintiff in?
I am not a plaintiff in the COA litigation, so let's...
You're an intervener.
I'm an intervener in the planning board, in the litigation against the planning board, which is separate and distinct from the COA. So
That's still costing the borough money because you're intervening. Go
It
ahead.
does not cost the borough money. Let's keep going. That's not the issue, and stop interrupting me with your false narrative.
You're not an intervener?
Finally, the COA lawsuit. There is a plan that has been made available, which is what the borough filed. The borough filed it with the court on December 10th. I understand from sitting at the court hearing that that plan is now going to be approved or is presented for approval to the planning board in January, and ultimately will come to the mayor and council for approval. I'd like to know why is it going to these people after it's already been presented to the court as the borough's plan? What are they supposed to do with it if they should happen to disagree with any element of that plan? Or since it's going to the new mayor and council, if those people disagree with it? How do you do this process backwards?
Members of the council, I'm advising you not to answer, as there is pending litigation. The council has been fully apprised of every step in the affordable housing litigation. Thank you, Mrs. Geiger.
I just want to know if you've all seen the full plan.
Thank you, Mrs. Geiger.
Mayor, can I make one thing clear on this, on the payments?
No, let me just say this.
No, just real quick, no payments are, Aunt Mary, please. No payments are sent out till we got the second signature. Ed came in, Ed was the second signature on most of the other ones.
Right.
And the only one that was in question was your invoice.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know, but everything did
So Ed
not go out.
signed everything but hers.
Right.
And...
He brought it up. He discussed it with me, then I discussed it with the mayor. But my point is this, the checks don't go out to the second
Because you
signature.
don't want people getting paid for their work?
So that's my point. So when I'm being told that I released all this $2.9 million, that is inaccurate.
No, I know, she's lighting her hair on fire
No.
for no reason. Go ahead. You had a question? Be quick, because we have to get into closed session.
As quick as possible. You can take your time.
Yeah, take your time.
Everybody else back in London, every other resident does, you do it more. Good morning, happy New Year, everybody. Ron Sport, Mrs. Twain, John Street, Inglewood Cliffs, Mr. Devil.
I didn't hear what you said.
I think you could call me Mr. Devil. I'd like to know...
I wouldn't do that. Other people
No,
do.
I know. You don't have your computer.
I do, actually.
Well, then you should open it up. I'd like to know what action, if any, was taken on the GRP properties on the south end of Englewood Cliffs.
He's been, our zoning officer has been down there. What I recommended, Tony, is you, the zoning officer, and myself get together. I gave him all the information that, you had concerns about, and he's addressing them. But I think it would be a lot easier, in my opinion, myself, you, and him, to get together.
Jamie, hold on a second.
Go ahead.
Hold on. He's not part of the government. You know what the issue is.
Yeah,
We've been coming back here. You guys have to solve that problem, okay?
All right.
I don't want him in meetings with you guys. It makes no sense.
Okay.
All right? He's not part of the government. He doesn't work for us. he complained, deal with the problem, because I have the same complaints. I don't like his style, I don't like what he stands for, but I have the same problem with that property, okay? And we keep doing this.
Right.
We keep doing this, all right? It's a violation, fine him, I don't care what you have to do, but fix it. All right, anything else?
Yes.
What else?
The breaking in is an English place. You got a break-in on John Street. And I read your note that you would ride around the bicycle checking and so on and so forth. There is no way that anybody can check who's on the block on certain streets. Because everybody parks on those streets, whether they're residents or non-residents of neighborhood cliffs. The people that came in here last meeting and asked about the brownstone, they're parking on their street. Nobody knows who parks there.
We're confusing issues.
No, because I have the same problem on John Street. Cars park all the way down the street. We don't know who's going into a deli or who's breaking into a house.
Well,
What I'm saying is,
so what's your suggestion?
Well, if a business has a parking problem, then I'm valeting. If a business has a parking problem, instead of journeying,
That's not gonna work.
off in town and telling them we're gonna do something and do nothing, let's do something.
Jamie, what's been done on Clifton Terrace?
I spoke with Lieutenant Hill. There's several things you can do, but are they favorable to do? You gotta remember one thing, these are public roads. And it's really tough to tell people they can't park in certain areas. We have an ordinance, from what I understand, I don't know how true this is, I spoke to the lieutenant, that you have to have permit parking only in that area, which means residential would have to get a permit, and only they can park on it.
What area?
I don't know what roads they are, I have to get the ordinance.
Lieutenant Hill is the former,
Yeah, so,
before he became officer in charge. He is the traffic.
and basically, what he said is that when you do a permit by ordinance for residents, you remember, if they have any company over or anything like that, they could be ticketed as well. So there's also concerns with that as well.
Excuse me.
Okay, Tony, I give you the answer, and it's
No,
like...
that's not an answer. Because first of all, anybody can get a residential parking and park on their street. Or park at any street, I was told, in Englewood Cliffs.
Homeowners, property owners.
Property owners.
Permit-
Where has that little slip?
Permit where you have permit parking, it's property owners.
My question is your signs 1 hour parking unless you're a resident of Englewood Cliffs, or unless you're a resident of the block? Those are wrong. What you people aren't addressing is the ordinances that you put into place. They're backwards.
I don't put them in place.
You don't put them in place.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's backwards. You can't have, I can park on my street, and everybody else parks there for 1 hour, because that's what it says.
Well, that would change if you amended the ordinance.
Pardon me?
That would change probably if you amended the ordinance.
Well, like anything else, you see, you're saying to me about the Chiapi properties, when the mayor says he's discussed it also, nobody's looking at the rules.
So you started off this part of your conversation with burglaries.
Well, it's the same thing.
If you have...
Sir, it's the same thing, because nobody follows up, nobody reads. You hire a maintenance man to take care of maintenance at $20,000 or $30,000 or $15,000 a year in this town, and the guy doesn't even know where the south side is or the north side is, nor does he know the rules.
I'm not sure what we're talking about right now, but if you have a burglary issue, call the police department. If you suspect a burglar, call the police department.
I'm supposed to suspect on the whole block there's 40 cars.
Well, then you don't have a suspicion. If you have a suspicion...
Get broken in.
Look, the police department...
Across the street from my house. I'm broken in. There's no problem. But you say, if you see something suspicious...
If you see something, say something.
With no truck should be parked on my block, and they trucks every day.
Well,
What are they doing?
well, go ask them. They're right across the hall.
You ask them, because don't you? You're the mayor, not me.
They're doing their...
Take care of it.
All right, put your finger down and stop yelling at me. Then you can
Look at
leave.
me like I'm your son.
You can leave here. You can leave if you're gonna be pointing. You should leave.
I have more respect for this...
Put your finger
I
down.
don't have to put my finger down.
All right, look, the police department is in charge of safety. They're doing their jobs. They're working to do it, to find out who these burglars are. I understand your frustration, but coming in here and raging at me as if I'm the police chief is silly, okay?
You're the one who's saying you're going around with your bicycle and you
No.
do stuff that's not...
That's not what I said. What
I'm
if...
not telling you, I don't know what...
Hold on. I said if I see something suspicious, I report it. I spend a lot of time off my bicycle, too. I run, I walk. Just be observant. If you see something, say something. Just like you're doing with the Chaffee properties.
I see trucks on my block. What do they do about it? Nothing.
Well, call it in.
Call. They can't do anything. The trucks are moving
They
every minute.
they will take note.
You put
They will take note.
trucks, they wouldn't park there.
Well, we
They
can...
can give a ticket. They're not coming out every 2 minutes. We only...
Well, sir, you bought a house off a highway, so there will be traffic. Anything else that you wish to say?
I didn't say traffic, sir. I said a truck. Don't change my words. You're not in front of the Supreme Court. I'm saying, you have trucks.
What else?
You have people
All right.
eating on lawns.
What else?
People don't live on lots. It's not to understand.
What other quality of life issue do you have? What other quality of life?
Broadway. I have a quality of life.
What quality of life issue do you have?
And I'll have a better quality.
Of course you will. Go ahead. What other quality of life? What other quality of life issue do you have? All right.
I'd like you to
All right. Can I have a motion
like
to?
you asked.
Can I have a motion to close the public portion?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? All right. Can I have a motion to go into closed session? Second. All in favor? Madam Clerk, could you please get us into closed session with the appropriate language?
Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs has deemed
Mr.
it...
Morfesis, you can't do that here. Have your conversation somewhere else. You can't stand there, it's a fire hazard. You can't smoke in here either. Sorry.
Resolution 1874. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain confidential matters, and whereas the minutes of the closed session will remain confidential as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, or shall be released when there is no further need for confidentiality or as authorized by the borough attorney. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs will go into closed session for the following matters as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. Pending litigation regarding Borough of Englewood Cliffs and affordable housing, 800 Sylvan Avenue LLC versus Borough of Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council and Planning Board. That's the Builders Remedy lawsuit. 800 Sylvan Avenue LLC versus the Planning Board, Builders suit to challenge. Number 4, Englewood Cliffs PBA Local versus Borough of Englewood Cliffs. Number 5, Tracy versus Borough of Englewood Cliffs. Number 6, litigation personal disciplinary and contracts, discussion regarding 4 new grievances.